Bandits! Hundreds of them! 6 o'clock!
It's got German markings.
Let's get them!
Where are the damn fighters going? Is there anything left of our escort? Mayday! Mayday! Prepare to bail out!
Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Ben, Christy, and Matt. George Lucas's Tuskegee Airmen story, Red Tails. Not told in sort of cheesy, over-the-top manner in any way at any point.
At all. No. This is the story of black fighter pilots in World War II and the racism that they had to fight aside from the Nazis.
It wasn't just the Nazis standing in their way.
Exactly. This has nothing to do with the HBO movie from a few years back called the Tuskegee Airmen.
Right.
That shared some of the same cast.
Right.
It's not at all the same story.
That was more syphilitic.
Yes.
But this is half the cast of The Wire.
That's Miss Evers' boys.
Sorry.
That's the other Tuskegee experiment.
I knew one of them was syphilitic.
But you liked The Wire, so you must have liked it had like half the cast of The Wire.
Right.
It had a lot of guys from The Wire.
Yes, a lot of guys from The Wire, a director from The Wire.
Good.
Anthony Hemingway.
Yep.
We have a right to fight for our country, the same as every other American. We will not go away.
I can't afford the kind of losses my bombers have been suffering. Can you help save lives?
If you get us new planes, we can help your boys. We count our victories by the bombers we get to their targets, by the husbands we return to their wives, by the fathers we get back to their children.
I don't know whether you got a sense in that trailer how incredibly hokey the dialogue
Now listen,
was.
the dogfights in this, the aerial combat, is awesome.
But it has to be. It's freaking Lucas and ILM. It can't suck.
I don't think it was awesome. I think it was good.
It was
No, it was great.
It was very glossy.
I thought it was great. I thought it was actually some of the most exciting aerial combat. I think even more so than something like Top Gun.
But it was devoid of tension. Like it looked good.
I disagree. I was on the edge of my seat. I really was.
Really?
The fact that they drop you into, I mean, as the titles are going, you're in the middle of a dogfight or something, right?
But like it's like you're supposed to.
There's
like,
no context.
They're flying around with the planes.
There's no context.
Yeah.
They shoot the train down.
You know, but
Yes,
the
the flying
first
train,
line
they
of
shoot it down.
first line of the movie is when you see white fighter pilots escorting the heavies, and they say, "Germans, let's get them." I mean, it's just, so I'm a little out of the moment. I got to be honest. Germans, let's get them.
I like that they say he's the best damn pilot I've ever seen.
Yeah,
It's really, really hokey and corny.
Yeah, and I thought that killed some of the drama. And like even in that first scene, I mean, already you don't have any with as we see some of the bombers go down because the fighter pilot escorts abandoned their escorting duties to go fight to get into the dogfight with the Germans.
To be clear, these are the white pilots.
These are the whiteys, the honkies.
Fuck whitey.
We don't, we don't like. There's no. I feel nothing for the death of the boys and the bombers. Like, even though we haven't met these guys yet, they just managed to make
Didn't
this.
you see Memphis Belle?
It felt
Aren't
like
you worried about those guys? Come on.
It felt like a video game, and in a video game, you don't feel compassion for the characters.
Well, a lot of that is because the characters don't feel like anything but two-dimensional types.
First of all, you're not playing the right games.
Okay, that may be.
Second of all, the aerial fight scenes in this movie were awesome.
They weren't.
We keep going back to that.
They were good.
The redeeming part of the entire
The rest of this movie
apparently.
stinks.
Like at one point, the Nazi fighter pilot, who's sort of in throughout the movie, they're going to get this sort of leader of the vicious Nazi squadron of fighter pilots, Hans. At one point, he with subtitles says, "Die, you foolish African!"
Right.
I mean,
Right.
come on.
No,
There are ellipses somewhere in there too. Die, you foolish ... African.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I thought that from a technical aspect, I thought that the fight scenes were, the aerial combat, the dogfights were super exciting. I thought they were really well done. The rest of the movie, I was dying for them to get back in the air.
Yeah.
In a weird sort of way, I almost started identifying with the pilots, like, please get them back in the air.
Right.
Please,
Yeah.
because all this talking sucks.
I will say there are a couple nice moments between Easy, the squadron leader, and Lightning,
Joe.
his best friend. a couple nice moments, but again, like one is the drunk pilot, one is the womanizer, one is the musician. Like they're all these two-dimensional little cardboard cutout types.
I decided, you know, in my head, I played a game. I gambled against myself as to who would live and who would die. I recommend that if you go see it, because that's kind of fun. Because I don't think it's clear.
How'd you do?
I lost.
Okay.
I lost on the big one. I was defeated.
But if you were the house, you also won.
How so?
Well, you bet against yourself.
That's a fair point. Yes, I won.
There are no losers here.
Some of those interior
Or are
scenes,
there?
and I agree with you. Like the dogfights are well done. They just don't have any tension, I thought. But they are technically well done.
Right. There's no story behind them. You don't really care. I get where you're coming from. I thought just, you know, if you were to tune into something like a quick YouTube clip of dogfighting, like, yeah, that'd be cool. You'd be sending that to your friends, right?
I agree. I agree with that.
Out of context, they work. But yes.
And many of the interior scenes, like with Terrence Howard and Cuba Gooding Jr. and Gerald McRaney, where they're sort of planning strategy, those look like History Channel reenactments of those meetings. Like they really, but they mean way more than just not building any drama or having three-dimensional characters. They really felt like one take sort of thing. The way it was shot, everything looked like, or everything really looked like. It really felt like a reenactment.
And Terrence Howard is really, really miscast in that he's supposed to be the commander, and and his voice is so soft. Like there's never a moment where you feel like he's truly confidently in command just because of his presence, his voice.
Yeah, I don't know that Terrence Howard and Cuba Gooding were the guys who were who felt like the guys who would lead this squadron.
Yeah, although I will say this movie in a weird sort of way kind of made me think of the Star Wars prequels in that it suffers from the same issues. I think that the direction was more probably concerned with technical matters, and so your less experienced actors can't sell what is ultimately really weak dialogue, right? And to the point, I mean, I read that New York Times article about George Lucas where he'd hired Aaron Magruder of the Boondocks to come in and write the dialogue. It still stinks, right? But when you've got decent actors like Terrence Howard, Cuba Gooding Jr., guys who've been around the block, they can kind of sell it. Like they're at least better than kind of the younger rookies.
Yeah, there were some really awkward moments. But that said, and I agree, the dialogue was not sold. We all agree with that. But now that said, I've trashed it. It wasn't. I still had an okay time.
It was still a worthwhile story. Yeah, it needs to be told.
Right. It was still really hokey, but you still want them to win. And
but I think if you want a better version of this story, seek out that HBO movie from a couple years back with Cuba Gooding Jr. and I think Terrence Howard is in that, and Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
That's the better version.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'd all agree with that. Okay. Numbers.
4.
4.
Yeah, I give it 4.5. Okay. It's almost average.
Almost.
There were some moments where the audience laughed, I thought, uncomfortably. I saw it in a pretty packed house.
Like they were meant to laugh, or they weren't supposed to laugh?
They weren't supposed to laugh. So.
All right.
Anyway, so that pulls it to a 4.2. So there, you've been warned.